In this video, we are going to talk about VeChain, some of its recent price action, the important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of VeChain to go in the next few days and weeks. So we'll be looking at the weekly chart, and what you can see here is that VeChain has very clearly been in a downtrend since late 2024. It has been continuously dumping with no significant rallies really, other than a couple here in 2025, but it's not that significant. And basically since mid 2025, VeChain has been just continuously dumping with no rallies whatsoever, really just red candles upon red candles. And back in October of 2025, it broke down to a new all-time low. Back in the October liquidation event, it quickly got a bit of a rally back up, but then continued dumping in the months following it and managed to create new all-time lows again, and it is just continuing to create lower and lower all-time lows since then throughout the entirety of 2026. It is currently at the all-time low more or less. It is now trying to hold onto this area over 0.0045 or so as support, but it is not looking great honestly. And even a few months ago, back when we saw Bitcoin getting a significant relief rally, Bitcoin went all the way down to 60k since its all-time high, and back in February it got a relief rally to about 82k all the way up to about May or so. And during that time we saw VeChain just more or less consolidate, maybe a bit of a rally for a few weeks here, but it wasn't that significant. And since then it just continued dumping and creating further all-time lows. So really the structure of VeChain has been absolutely horrible for a very long time now. And also the fact that it broke down below this crucial area of support at around 0.015, that was the all-time low and behaved as support very strongly in the past, back in 2022 and 2023. It broke down below this area of support very quickly. It basically didn't behave as support whatsoever, and it just broke down below it and continued to create further all-time lows. This is a very concerning sign for VeChain, and it is looking incredibly weak at the moment, and it has been since 2024. And as I mentioned before, even back when Bitcoin was actually performing quite well, even earlier than that, back in 2025, when Bitcoin was creating new all-time highs and the entire crypto market was performing very, very well, VeChain only got some pretty minor rallies and eventually continued dumping further, and it is continuing to be in a downtrend for a very long time now, as I said, even when the entire crypto market was doing well. Also guys, if you are enjoying these videos and you want more updates about VeChain as well as other altcoins, if you're getting any value from these updates, I will appreciate it very much if you subscribe. It helps the channel way more than you know, and it allows me to continue making these videos. So now let's continue with the analysis of VeChain. Also, I'm sorry before I said that VeChain was creating new all-time lows. This is of course a mistake. It is not creating new all-time lows. These are just the lowest areas where VeChain was at for the last few years. The actual all-time low is from all the way back in 2020, but it is getting dangerously close to its actual all-time low, and the next area of support really is the all-time low itself. It has broken down below basically every single support area that it has. Maybe it can still hold onto this area of support from back in November of 2019, but it seems very weak, and the real significant area of support for VeChain is this one at around 0.003, which is, as I said, the all-time low more or less. And back then, and back when VeChain was at this level, it got very significant rallies. We saw these two rallies, and then the very significant rally that led to the all-time high eventually back in 2020 and 2021. So I would expect VeChain to continue dumping at the very least down to its all-time low, and then from there potentially get a relief rally and get some support from there for the first time in a very long time. Do I expect it to get a similar rally to what it got back in March 2020 when it was at the all-time low? Absolutely not. Back then, VeChain got just an absolutely massive rally leading up to the old season of 2021. The rally was of over 7,000%. This is incredibly unlikely to happen this time. Back then, the entire crypto market was still in a bull market, and we got an altcoin season, and currently we are in a bear market. Despite some of the recent relief rallies by Bitcoin, we are still very clearly in a bear market, and Bitcoin is in a downtrend, and the chances of an altcoin season anytime soon are incredibly slim to none basically. In bear markets historically, altcoins significantly underperform Bitcoin, and I wouldn't expect it to be any different this time. And historically, for us to get an altcoin season, we first need to see Bitcoin and Ethereum getting to new all-time highs, which are both currently very far off their all-time highs. And I think that really we don't have any chance of getting an altcoin season for many more months. I would expect at the very least most of 2026 to be a bear market year, potentially even further than that. And I think that VeChain will probably continue dumping all the way down to its all-time low in the next few months, probably to the area of about 0.003, and even then it could even break down below its all-time low and continue dumping further. Even if it does get some support from there, I wouldn't expect it to perform that well, because as I said, I'm expecting most altcoins to underperform Bitcoin and Ethereum for many more months to come, at least the altcoin market as a whole. Of course, there can be some exceptions, but I don't see a reason to why VeChain would be one of those exceptions. The structure of VeChain has been very poor for a very long time now, and really it has been in a downtrend since 2021. It has been in a downtrend for many years now, and it is looking very weak and basically absolutely horrible in terms of its structure. So again, I'm pessimistic about altcoins as a whole and about VeChain specifically as well. So of course, this isn't financial advice whatsoever, but I personally definitely would not bet on VeChain at the moment or anytime soon really. And I would also not get heavy into altcoins in general. I would only consider maybe being into some altcoins very selectively in small amounts, only the ones who have a very good structure, and VeChain is just not one of them at the moment. Of course, with VeChain being a small market cap altcoin, things can move very quickly and change a lot. So what would be a sign of a trend reversal by VeChain would be, the very first sign would be if VeChain manages to cross this recent high from May of around 0.008. If it does manage to cross that, this would be the very first sign of a potential trend reversal if it closes a weekly candle above it. But at the moment, it seems quite unlikely to happen anytime soon. They would expect the downtrend to continue and it probably to head all the way down to its all-time low, as I said. So I'm very pessimistic about VeChain. Not much else for me to say about it really. VeChain does have a small chance of getting some support from the December 2019 area of support, but it is looking increasingly unlikely as VeChain is continuing to dump. It is trying to consolidate there in the last few weeks, but I still think that it will probably eventually break down below it. If it does manage to get some support from there, then the next area of resistance would be here at around 0.0065 or so, which was the last area where VeChain was consolidating at, and it is also a significant area of resistance from 2019 as well as 2020. So these would be the areas for VeChain to look at, and again, I think that it is more likely that it will break down below this area of support and head down to the all-time low in the coming months. So you guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates about VeChain as well as other altcoins and the crypto market in general, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.